we are trying to teach people about how to communicate effectively to people that are in hate groups, because often our society tend to be very upset, toward extremists, and the problem with that is that we end up pushing them furthermore into extremist groups and making the situation worse. I think that upsetting people, calling them name, is really counterproductive. There are actually other things that are very counterproductive into the communication toward extremists. Fact-checking them, giving them a lesson of history, focusing on the pigment of their skin and telling them that they are wrong is actually very counterproductive.
What is productive?
So what is productive is to really listen to the pain. Often what we are finding is people that join hate groups are trying to find a place to belong, but mainly because extremist groups are doing an incredible work at communicating to these people that are hurting and offering them a space where to belong. So for us, we're going to need to be smarter at understanding that people that join a hate group is mainly because they are hurting, and we need to be better at listening to the pain.
What I'm hearing you say is the extremist groups are pretty good on recruiting, on the marketing efforts and that sort of thing, and that the efforts to get people out needs to match their efforts.
They are actually phenomenal. Actually, they are doing better than us to really go across the divide, the racial divide, and good communicators. In matter of fact, in 2016, when I was starting to build the helpline to provide services to intimate bystanders whose loved ones are recruited into extremists, is that I've learned a lot about the recruiters. And often what I say is that they do a good job giving the microphone to the pain, and we should be doing better. So what is helpful is when someone is hateful is to kind of be more doing listening. Why do they hate? Why do they blame others for their pain? Mainly, why do they scapegoat Jewish people for their pain? Listening to the pain help us understand the root issue that got them recruited in the first place.
So listening to them is at least as important, if not more so, than what you're saying to them.
Absolutely. So that doesn't mean enabling. We still need to hold people accountable when they have an act of violence or they are about to commit a crime. But what is extremely important is to understand, why is someone so angry? Why are they blaming others? It's really crucial. The same way actually that we see in people that are deep into addiction, we know that addiction is serving as a coping mechanism to numb some pain. This is very much the same thing.
So what is the working group's focus in terms of trying to drive that?
Yes. So first of all, what we are working on is to understand the challenge of effective communication. And what we are finding is that working in silo, when everybody's focused on their own project and are not on the same page about what is the problem we're dealing with, what makes things worse, and what is actually helpful to help people disengage, is really the step number one. We've got to be on the same page. And the second part is that how can we work better with different stakeholders so they can be effective communication, so people don't have their own topic. Like for instance, a school that have a way of dealing with the situation might make the situation worse. Family might make the situation worse. Everybody have their own policies and their way of thinking about the problem. So we are trying to be in the same page so we can be much better at preventing and early intervention.
How would you label success down the road?
So at Parents for Peace, what we label success is that when we equip intimate bystanders that deal with a loved one with extremism to be effectively communicating to bridge the gaps between them and their loved one. And also when we are eventually getting the person that is in extremism, themselves, so we can bring everybody in the same table and bridge, making bridges is crucial to help the whole family unit to have a strong bond and start restoring healthy behavior. It takes a long time because remember that getting into an extremist group doesn't happen overnight. So the disengagement is also a process. So this is a back and forth between us and the intimate bystanders and the extremists themselves. And success looks like when the person that is in extremism, that usually is obsessed with their swastika or speaking about Hitler, or in the case of Islamists, that they are thinking about hating others or scapegoating the Jews. When they stop talking about this, when they remove sign of hate, when they start talking about, I am interested in this course or getting to college, and by the way, I am getting a job. When we start seeing signs of the person choosing healthy behaviors and activities, those are really signs that help us understand, those are indicators that help us evaluate success. We use what we call the radical behavioral scale to help us really see specific indicators that help us see when the person is disengaged.
There's a lot of emphasis here at the summit about trying to help people who are not yet in an extremist group, but they may be attracted to it. How do we deal with that? You're talking about something different. You're talking about people who are already there. That sounds like a far more difficult task to me.
It is. I think that, we still never turn down an opportunity to make sure that an individual doesn't become dangerous to our community and our society. So this is a duty for us to make sure that we are engaging. It's never too late in our book. And of course, when it is too late, when we think that there are signs that might be harmful for our society, then we need to make sure that we have, we work with the intimate bystanders to connect with law enforcement. Now, we like to focus also in the before, when actually someone vulnerable that is contemplating extremism, that is curious, or that is struggling, and we can see that that could be a sign for being recruited. We like to focus on that. It's a big task, again, because our society works in silo, and we don't realize that sometimes we make things worse. In the school system, a very specific example in the school, because right now we are getting calls about a 12 years old and 13 and 14 and 16. It's very upsetting to see that this is happening. And it's happening in our schools, and our schools are not yet very equipped to understand about how to handle the situation. And what we do is to fact check the person, to give them a lesson of history. We, kind of tell them that they are being bad, or we give them, a lecture on anti-racist lecture. I can tell you that all this doesn't work, and it's counterproductive. And sometimes the school, meaning well, are pushing someone that is hurting into an extremist groups. And we've got to do something different.